All right, it is 5:30. Thanks everybody for being here. We will run through our agenda. I know we had a couple of additions and there may be some comments on some other agenda items to get ready for our meeting at 6. To begin the meeting, we will have 2 presentations in regards to appropriations that were requested by council members, Hands Across Decatur and Best and Brightest. Then we'll move to approval of minutes. I don't think there were any changes. Any questions? All right, public hearings, ordinance 234565, approve rezoning for a tract of land containing 1.41 acres, more or less, from an M1 light industry district to B5 Central Business District located at 211 First Avenue Southeast. Public hearing was set August 7th, 2023. Any changes? No changes. Any questions? Okay. Any questions? All right. Resolution 23-236, approved request for Class 1 lounge, liquor, beer, and wine on-premise license by Chow's Seafood, Decatur, Incorporated, doing business as Red Pier Seafood and Steak at 1208 Beltline Road Southwest.
No changes.
Any questions? Resolution 23-237, approved request for special event liquor license for the Hennessy wedding reception from Burning Tree Country Club on September 16th, 2023.
No changes.
Any questions? Resolution 23-250, approved Las Vegas final business license suspension or revocation.
No changes, but all fees were paid up today, so everything has been paid,
Okay.
So they are 100% current.
100% current.
We would, a suggestion would be if y'all consider continuing this conditional suspension and revocation for 6 months to see if they can stay compliant. It took quite an effort to get them to where they are today.
So are you saying that we need to vote to support this? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying I want to substitute a resolution that will make this conditional suspension for 6 more months. They can continue to operate. As long
Okay.
as they meet the law. That's all we're saying. Rather than having to start over.
Okay.
Because it's been an interesting journey all over.
I'm assuming if you're asking for that, I'm assuming it's been a long journey.
So are you saying it's been a pain to get them to pay? Is that pretty much
I
what we're
don't
saying?
use the word pain, we don't try to.
Yeah,
suffer,
absolutely,
But it's been an effort.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you all.
All right. Any questions other than potential for a substitution? Herman, would that be,
Same number, I just made the same number to substitute.
we would amend to this?
Somebody would move to substitute this one.
Yeah. Okay. It is the same number, so we,
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with that.
well, yeah, we'd have to make that in the meeting.
I mean,
Any other discussion? All right, anything, David?
No change.
Okay. Any questions? All right, resolutions. Resolution 23-249, approved request for a revocation of business license for TO1 Mexican Grill, 1318 6th Avenue Southeast, Decatur.
Okay, still no word from them. I have reached out several times with no response,
Okay.
so we're about in the same position on that.
This would be a conditional revocation.
If that's what you chose, yes.
If this was approved, it would be conditional till, and there would be 30
Meeting in October, first
30
meeting in
days.
October.
Okay. All right, any questions? All right, resolution 23-251, approved vacation 546-23 for Stogie Holdings and Trinity Properties to vacate 15-foot wide alley right-of-way on Bank Street. Any changes? Any questions? Resolution 23-252, accept 2023 pass grant for Old State Bank renovations. I think I saw Caroline. Any changes? All right, any questions? Resolution 23-253, accept 2023 port security grant.
No change.
All right, any questions? Resolution 23-254, award bid number 23025R to replace HVAC unit at Fire Station 4.
No change.
All right, any questions? Resolution 23-255, award bid number 23024 for demolition of TC Allman and Point Mallard Pavilion structures.
No change.
All right, any questions? Approve the purchase of HVAC Unit 1 for DYS Aquadome location.
No change.
Okay, any questions? Resolution 23-257, approve the purchase of artificial turf for the sports complex on Modus Road.
No change.
Any questions? Resolution 23-258 and Resolution 23-259, approve purchase of modular bathroom for pickleball facility and tennis facility.
No change.
Any questions? Resolution 23-260, approved budget amendment for fees to submit Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods DOT grant application on behalf of the City of Decatur, Bill Sims Trail and Singing River Trail. I know Alan's got something, but I don't think there were any changes to the, all right, Alan.
Alan Stover with the Community Development Department. There's been quite a bit of conversation about this grant, and I just wanted to, I guess, bring this to the council, and then it's, y'all have got the information and y'all can make the decision. The notice of funding opportunity with this grant has grant priorities and policy priorities that that DOT intends to further the goals of the White House Housing Supply Action Plan by evaluating community policies that encourage and increase the housing supply via zoning reforms to reduce regional displacement pressures. It also seeks to fund projects that reduce greenhouse gases emissions in the transportation sector, including climate-friendly forms of transportation. It also intends to use the Reconnecting Communities program to support the creation of good-paying jobs with free and fair choice to join unions and to incorporate a strong labor standard and training and placement program, especially registering apprentice programs. The issue is that as your community development manager, the notice of funding opportunities says basically one thing when it comes to 100% funding for disadvantaged communities. The webinar that DOT did explaining the NOFA said a totally different thing. We've gotten word from, I guess, Representative Strong's office that he talked with DOT, and they sort of agreed with what the funding opportunity, or what the NOFA said. You know, the thing is, the difference between those very well could commit the city to some things regarding the disadvantaged community, and we could be required to enter into a community's benefit agreement along with a community advisory board. I have talked with Alta as well as Danielle and expressed my concerns with this. I have said that I would like for us to see that what the community benefit agreement would look like, as well as how this board would be, how it would be formed. The notice of funding opportunities spell out how that board would be constructed of representatives from the community, nonprofits serving the community, owners of businesses serving the community, and labor organizations representing workers in the community, as well as state and local governments. I'm by no means, I hope that my 25 years experience with the City of Decatur would say that I have been fully supportive of this bike trail. I have been grants administrator and I've been the community development manager for this area. In no way am I against this program. I just have some concerns based off of three things. I have been audited 2 times this year by two different organizations. Some of the time, and both occasions, council, when they come in, the issues that we have has strictly to do with how they interpret these regulations. It's all according to who is looking at it and how they interpret these notifications and regulations. Today, I got a call from one of our grants back from from longer than I've been here. And it's strictly based on what their interpretation is, and I totally disagree with it. And we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to come up with some, probably some solutions to this issue in the future, near future. And it strictly goes back to what the regulations say and how they interpret it. That's why that I strongly suggest that we see what that agreement would look like, as well as, how this board could be constructed if we have to do it. And I think there's, again, what Congressman Strong has told us is that we would not have to comply with either one of those things. I'm just not sure that I'm not convinced, because it's, you see two different things and are told two different things from the webinar. Not only does it say it in the PowerPoint presentation, but I promise you, again, I played it back 5 times and the lady said the same thing every time.
Which was
She said and.
Yeah.
So,
We haven't seen the application,
no, sir.
so we're basically saying, we have no, we know what we're applying for, but we have no idea the strings that are attached to
Yeah,
it.
and I promise you that we're gonna have to, we'll have to address those things that I talked about originally.
So are you
The
saying,
greenhouse gases, the,
And go into the audit, if we're awarded an $8 million grant, and they come back 10 years later and they audit us, and we haven't made it equitable to form unions or increase housing or economic impact of things, they could just immediately say, hey, we need our $8 million back, or it could be.
absolutely.
so are you suggesting that we table this until we can look at it further, or are you suggesting we remove it
The
from the
grant is
agenda?
due September the 27th or 28th. There's 2 ways that, you could table it. If you wanted to move forward today, I would strongly, if the decision from this council is to move forward, I would absolutely strongly recommend that before we submit that application on the September, the next council meeting, that y'all approve that grant application. And now that may put some pressure on Alta, that they have to get that to us by then, but I absolutely would strongly suggest that we see what that application is gonna look like, because we're not doing it, and we're going to have to meet those, in order to get the application, we're gonna have to address those things. And I've not talked to them, I don't know, they're making the application, and they're great to work with. Danielle has been a great partner, with this, and she's had the patience of Job with me through this, so, but again,
Sounds
that's
like
just that's
Well,
where I'm at,
just
and
to
I'll be glad to
clarify,
answer.
the actual law in the infrastructure bill does not say and, it says satisfy one of these
Yes,
requirements, which we satisfy. But it's in the additional documentation that DOT put out. It shouldn't be shocking that the federal government passes a bill that says one thing and then gives instructions that say a totally different thing. But that's what we're dealing with, is the law says, it does not say and, it says one of these requirements, and then when they get to explaining it, webinars, then it adds and to it.
again, and then when not if, but when we are audited, we're gonna have representatives from DOT that's gonna come in, and it is absolutely a crapshoot whether they're gonna say, you should have done this, or you, and at that point, it becomes then a legal issue, and we're gonna have to, you know, because it's the same thing as I've already said. I can stand here and I can absolutely raise my right hand and say the other three issues that I spoke to, none of them said the way that they're interpreted it.
Yeah.
But they're still gonna require us to do that, okay? So, and I'm absolutely not against the project,
All right, thanks,
but I do have
Alan.
concerns.
I appreciate sharing that. Any questions for Alan? Additional questions? All right, resolution 23-261, approve FY 24 job classification pay plan changes.
No changes.
All right, any questions? This is for the fire department pay change. Resolution 23-262, approve SRO updated agreement with Decatur City Schools.
There's no change.
All right, any questions? Resolution 23-263, amendment of urban renewal covenants R74 for public building use on parcel 6-3.
The only change is that we do not have to get the housing authority approval because of a quick claim deed they sent us, we found in 1982. Planning commission will review and hopefully approve it, but that's the only change.
All right, any questions? Resolution 23-264, approve relocation of voting centers. Any questions? Resolution 23-265, authorize mayor to apply for Children's Trust Fund Family Matters Program Grant. Any changes?
No changes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at Brandon. He asked me to add it to the agenda, so, sorry. Any questions? All right, resolution 23-266, approve the replacement of a compressor to repair the HVAC at Old State Bank.
There's no changes. This is
It's a
the one
new
last
item,
we had.
yeah. All right, any questions? Resolution 23-267, approve expense for replacement of HVAC unit at Fire Department Training Center.
No change.
All right, any questions? Ordinances first reading, ordinance 23-4567, approve revised urban forestry ordinance tree board.
That's the first reading and there's no change in it.
Any questions? All right, ordinance 23-4568, approval of conveyance of parcel 6-3 to Alabama Community College System for construction of dance studio and training center.
No change.
Any questions? All right, we will get started at 6 o'clock.
But not my girlfriend.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Dane Shaw will lead us in our invocation and pledge.
Father, we are grateful again for this city and the wisdom you've given us. We ask you just to be with us as we make decisions that best benefit you and what you're doing here. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Dane. Roll call.
Widener.
Here.
McMaster.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Here.
Pepper.
Here.
All right, to start our meeting tonight, first off, thanks everybody for being here. We are going to have two presentations that had to do with appropriation requests, and these were requested presentations by members of the council. And we'll start with Hands Across Decatur with Sue Terrell. Trying to keep it around 10 minutes. I think you and I just talked about that.
Seat reserved. Pick up trim. I'll do 10 minutes. And my water. I'm even going to read it because if I don't, then I'll just go off on tangents, you know. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this evening. We continue to ask assistance from the city of Decatur to enable Hands Across Decatur to continue with our homeless street outreach and homeless prevention within our community. Hands Across Decatur has always represented members in our community who do not have a voice, the invisible community, most often referred to as homeless or unhoused or unsheltered or the outdoors people. Most of our population doesn't understand how real it is when you can't run back to your mom, who's historically our safe haven. You can't run back to your family house. You can't run anywhere. You're just out of doors, existing. The increased number of homeless or near homeless nationwide may be due to the end of the epidemic, with the termination of the rental assistance and the end of the rent moratorium, increasing pressures on the housing market, and lack of deeply affordable and accessible housing. Decatur is not exempt from this. This, of course, does not include our unhoused population, as they are not included in the general consensus. Rent is going up while household income remains the same. Kudos to Decatur schools for realizing there is an increase in local homelessness and taking the initiative of adding a second advocate for homeless students. These students are not homeless because they are addicts or because they have mental health issues. You can't have an increase in homeless students and not have an increase in overall homelessness. Students have parents who are also homeless. When we focus on our homeless population, we do not turn away any individual in emergent need. We service approximately 180 to 220 people per week. The estimated percentage of ethnic groups is as follows: 31% white males, 50% black males, 8% white women, 9% black women, 1% Hispanic, and 1% LGBTQ+. For fiscal year 2023, over 30 worthy nonprofits, from the Volunteer Center, the Foster Grandparent Program, to the Princess Theater, and the Best and Brightest Initiative, received grants totaling over $3 million, from a low of $5,000 for the Volunteer Center to a high of $500,000 for the Best and Brightest Initiative. For fiscal year 2024, Hands Across Decatur is seeking $41,000 of allotted funds for nonprofit organizations in the city of Decatur. Well, this is nowhere near the amount that is needed. This amount would be a great start on a positive path. With $41,000, besides providing the usual items that most expect we provide, clothing, food, sleeping bags, tents, etc., it would be a beginning to assistance to our street outreach program, walking on the path of self-sufficiency with our unhoused population, with the purchase of new computers, peripherals, and current software to enable Hands Across Decatur computer training for our homeless, making them more desirable to potential employees, or employers rather, and allow GED classes with the assistance of Calhoun College. Assistance with emergency hotel rooms during inclement weather or during medical emergencies. Assistance with prescription medications, medical care, mental health emergent dental need. Majority of our homeless do not qualify for the community-free clinic. Assistance with obtaining IDs, birth certificates needed to secure employment, is a long, frustrating, very expensive journey. The person's not born in Alabama, not have medical records. To get a copy of a Social Security card, you need a medical record, no longer a birth certificate. Purchase of life-saving supplies for our homeless who are living outside. Expansion of our bi-weekly community trauma support group in partnership with REACT. And continue serving as a warming center and cooling center for our community during the day for those who don't have access to adequate heat or cooling. This means more meals, high utility costs, etc. The important word here is community. Remember, we are the only facility, whether it be Morgan County, Lawrence County, Limestone County, or Coleman County, who opens up on our closed days, remains open for extended hours during 90+ degree heat and the freezing temperatures in the winter for anyone in need, no matter where they are from. This $41,000 will begin to assist with the homeless prevention. We receive 15 to 20 phone calls per week from people in our community needing rental or utility assistance, facing the danger of becoming homeless. The elderly community needs are increasing. There are more single moms and children needing assistance as well, living in their cars or hotel room. To facilitate the prevention of homelessness, we need to be able to provide prevention of those emergent danger of eviction. Temporary lodging assistance on a case-by-case basis for those who have been evicted, those released from institutions, jail or mental health care, or some other safe, healthy living conditions. We'd like to provide community and city educational opportunities to learn and immerse themselves in how to be an advocate and empathize, not sympathize, empathize for our homeless on their path forward rather than discarding them as unworthy. Community action, poverty simulation on a quarterly basis. Assistance with application fees, and maybe a case management worker. I've always liked numbers, so whenever I have trouble wrapping my head around something, I find that numbers make things clearer to me. Here are some numbers. Here are the facts. 16% of Decatur residents live at or below national poverty levels. 11% increase of homelessness nationwide this year. I need to drink the water, sorry. Drink up. $5,798 number of people we served in 2022. 6,481 number of people we served so far, 2023. 9,398 number of hot meals served 2022. 5,389 number of hot meals served through July 23. The only problem is the numbers aren't personal. We can tell you about the increase in numbers of meals served in our Hobo Cafe, helping other brothers out, Hobo, by citizens who aren't yet homeless, but who are in crisis and hanging by their fingertips. Disabled American veteran, age 68 years old, who's evicted from his apartment along with his disabled wife. 3 of us worked hours trying to get him someplace to go. Unfortunately, the only place for him to go was a rescue mission in Huntsville. And Wounded Warriors of Huntsville took care of him, getting there for us. The mom and 4 kids living in their car. Hospital patients discharged to the street after an admission to the hospital with nowhere else to go. Our tireless volunteers, most of whom are homeless, who help serve lunch, clean the building, help with sorting donations, clean the parking lot, and anything else that they see needs to be done, and anything we may ask of them. We can share how the greatest joy of a 50-plus-year-old man is receiving a donated bicycle so he can ride back and forth to his job at GE. The unhoused woman who's in liver failure, who's a liver transplant. The unhoused woman who has stage 4 colon cancer. The former unhoused individual is currently undergoing care for kidney and heart issues. A disability check of $600 per month with rent, utilities, phone, groceries, etc. coming out of that one check. We help with his groceries, doctor appointments, and transportation when we can. We can tell you about the words, just get a job, are not only demeaning, but do nothing to solve homelessness. Also not an easy, cheap task, especially if you aren't born in Alabama, never been a patient locally, you need to have an ID just to, quote, just get a job. List goes on and on. Being unhoused is not just a matter of mental health or addiction. They mean white-collar workers too, company executives, elected officials, etc., who have mental health diagnoses or addiction. Difference being, they're not homeless. No one says, oh, those white-collar workers, you know how they are. We've come to expect that most influential people, those who control the money and the direction and the very freedom of other citizens, are more likely to commit crimes because they know they're more likely to get every benefit of the doubt. A locally elected official recently stated in a public forum, and I quote, "There is so much hatred in our community, not enough love and care for one another. Respect one another and do for others when they cannot do for themselves." That was maddening to me when I read that. Yes, respect one another and do for others. Do for others as you want them to do for your own children. Who disagree with that? But I couldn't disagree more with the quote, "There is so much hatred in our community" statement. Our community is a loving, caring, and giving community. Without this love and caring attitude, our unhoused population would be much worse off than they are now. HAD would not exist to the extent that it does now. It would still be in a living room where it started in 2012. There'd be no hot meals, no community warming and cooling center, no hot showers, no day center, no chance of becoming visible. No chance, period. Gentlemen, imagine if HAD closed our doors. The recipients of HAD services would still be here, but all the municipal nightmares of underserved and unsheltered, the invisible community, would manifest. Neglected residents in your own community, your own voting district, will be out in desperate circumstances and prone to take desperate actions to survive, wouldn't you? It's human nature. By not supporting HAD, Decatur government won't make the problems go away. And as you know by now, I won't go away either. The problems will be brought to your own doorsteps. All efforts to promote growth will have to work against a highly visible and desperate homeless population. Social chaos. We all live in survival mode, all of us, every single day. By the grace of God, most of us have a home, family, source of income, food, and health insurance, the ability to afford life-saving medication. What if you didn't? Jill does not solve the unhoused issue in our society, nor should it. Public officials rightly face a higher standard. For as Thomas Jefferson himself said, when a man assumes a public trust, he should consider himself public property. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. You may have any questions for Sue? Just for the application process, you guys sent in an application, on the same lines a lot of the people you mentioned at the
Right.
beginning did, and so that's part of the budget process as we move forward, where those allocations go. And again, we had the council members request you to come
Yeah.
make that case to us tonight. So thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
Appreciate it.
And if we have any further questions, I think everybody's got Sue's contact, so
Whole town has my
we'll,
phone number.
So
Thank
before you
you.
leave though, I just want to say, I've been in your center. I've done some hauling for you and stuff, but I just want to say thank you for what you do in the community. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult job that you have, kind of standing for the entire community. But what you've done has made a real difference in our community, and so I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
thanks, Sue. All right, next on the list was best and brightest, and John, you guys can feel free to come on.
Thank you. Sydney's got a few slides she's gonna take you through real quick, and then I'll talk for a second, that's all right.
That
Y'all see
work?
that okay?
Yes, if the bottom thing was gone. There we go.
Thank you all for the chance to speak to you tonight. I want to take this opportunity to answer some questions we often get about this program. First, why do we do this? Or what is the point of doing this? This program benefits our entire community. It brings skilled workers here to help us keep those great jobs we have and attract more so people can have a job and get one. It brings customers so that we can support our small businesses who have to fight pandemics, who have to fight online retailers, who have to fight just the realities of being a small business owner. And it brings revenue back into the city literally from the instant that people move here, in the form of the purchases people make, the license tags they buy, their offline purchases, their online purchases. It helps our whole community. And every community knows you can never have enough highly skilled workers. That's why cities larger than us are trying to copy this program. That's why the state of Vermont calls the E-Center, wanting to know how to do this for their whole state. Because when you're responsible for an entire community, this approach makes sense. How do we use the funds efficiently? We operate this whole program: recruitment, marketing, retention, financial, special experiences, events, oversight, PR for less than the cost of 2 employees. We're just under 20% of our annual budget on personnel to operate the entire program. We take the responsibility of being a good steward very seriously. You grow up in a grocery store with 2% profit margins, it teaches you that. Marketing. We have university partnerships. This is the only program of its kind that a lot of universities all over the state, including Alabama, Auburn, UAH, UAB, UNA, led into their doors, led into their halls to market directly to their students. Of course, we use social media, but we're also expanding. The Alabama Commissioner on Higher Education has given us an opportunity to partner. We're going to spend 2 days at the end of this month with the state HBCU coordinator to grow that partnership and to help us expand our pool of applicants. There's other benefits, the meals, the experiences, the investment in their futures, but it's really about giving people a foundation for a great life here. So that's how we use our funds. What does this strengthen, really? Does it strengthen the private sector and our community? Does it strengthen the government? Who does it strengthen? Well, we bring the workers that help us keep great jobs here. We bring the workers that will help us attract more great jobs for Decatur residents. We bring more customers to keep our businesses in business. And then we deliver revenue right back into the community so that taxes stay low, so that people stay, so that we have the resources not only to do great things, but to help the people who are in need. You want your street paved, you want your sidewalks. I do too. Our family lives here in Decatur. The reason we didn't have them for a long time is because we did not grow revenue. That's why it happened. This program grows revenue today, tomorrow, and over the long term. So we can support our police, so we can support our fire, so we can fill a pothole, so that we can build a sidewalk, so we can plant a tree. That's what it does. And that's not an opinion, it's not a matter of hope, it's just math. It's just reality. So to conclude, this is already a great place. We already have wonderful people, whether this program continues or it doesn't. Home values in this county are rising, while surrounding counties' values are falling, despite anything else that happens. We already live in a great community. But the workforce, the customers, the revenue that this program generates isn't just about keeping us strong today. It's not just about affirming who we want to be. It's about keeping us strong tomorrow, and 5 years from now, 10 years. And yeah, it's about filling the city with engineers and physical therapists and nurses and teachers and architects and all of those people. But here's the key point. We do that so that we can help the people who are in need. It takes resources to help the people who lack them. It takes investments to continue to create and generate resources. The popular narratives are all about us against them and one group of people who doesn't care about another group of people. That's not the truth for most Americans. Certainly not the truth for most of our community. It's complicated, it's gray, it's messy. But we all wrestle with the reality of the fact that it's hard for a lot of people out there. It is hard. There's a lot of people hurting. There's a lot of people suffering. There's a lot of people whose best financial day of the year is when another bill doesn't come in the mail. But that's precisely why we do programs like this, to create resources, to create revenue, to make us stronger over time. Because not all cities are going to prosper in the 21st century. That's clear as day. America's not the only economic game in town anymore. Wish we were. We're not. I'll also say this. This program often gets talked about in terms of which city people should live in. It's not always about that. Oftentimes, it's about getting people to take the job in this area so that they will live in Decatur or wherever they're going to live. And think about the competition we have when it comes to job creation. 25 miles east of us, we have the second largest government purchasing economy in the United States of America. $50 to $100 billion flowing through that economy, creating all of those jobs which people take and then will tend to live toward. 90 miles south of us, which is an Atlanta commute, we have the state's largest higher ed medical system in UAB, plus the center of banking in Birmingham. And then about 100 miles north, we have the largest healthcare economy in the country, or at least top 3 in Nashville, which is also creating so many jobs that spawn jobs across other industries that people then take and live in that area. So we've got to be creative, we've got to be innovative. Most cities don't have those built-in advantages. So this helps us stay competitive in a time when the competition surrounding us is as intense as it's ever been. So we've got to be wise to win long term. Last thing I'll say is this. Sunday night, one of our children and I were coming back from some friend's house, and we were driving 67 toward Decatur. And I had that moment, I bet a lot of you can relate, when I was thinking, man, I remember driving 67 the other direction when I was 18 years old. Probably wasn't a better driver then either, but it was just a different stage of life. And I remember having no conception of these things. I just remember being 18, going to pick up some friends and doing whatever you do. And now I'm driving the other direction with a daughter and we're listening to Sister Christian. And life apparently does really change. And I know that there will be a day when we're driving 67 again. And the question we'll have to wrestle with is, did we do what was best for our entire community? And the reason that this program started, the reason it's grown, the reason it's been copied, is because it does what is good for our entire community. That's what we believe, and that's why we do it. So thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for your support of this program.
All right, any questions for John? Can you, how many in the program now, kind of where you see us going forward for next year?
We were asked and challenged to see if we could scale this program. And so we had 32 people in the program coming into 23, and we were asked if we could scale it. Our admission for this year will be 75% of the entire number we've ever admitted into the program ever. So we now have 56 people in the program who are buying houses, volunteering, writing checks to nonprofits, supporting their local businesses, working for our companies, generating revenue. And we think we can keep scaling at that pace and be able to provide the level of service that we do, which gives them not just an investment, but a foundation for a good life here.
56 in the program, that includes significant other?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's members we've admitted, and about half of our members bring someone with them who's not in the program. So they can come to a dinner or whatever, but they're not getting any kind of investment or reimbursement or anything like that.
Yeah. And you see attempting to continue to scale to, what, 200 members?
Yeah, I think
500?
we could. I think we could. And, you know, this is not new. I mean, this is no different than recruiting companies to communities, except with companies, you don't know where people are going to live. We're investing in the people and not the companies, and then we know they're all going to live here.
And I have go to some of your board meetings, and I think I've been clear, maybe in challenging you and the board about going to the county for funding. And
Yeah.
I think you've done that. I don't know if you received any funding, but again, just for everybody that lives in Decatur lives in Morgan County. We get all the people that come to the council meetings. Nobody ever goes to a county commission meeting asking for anything.
Ever.
But to that point, I have asked, that you go to them, because we represent revenue-wise, probably nearly 60% of the revenue the county takes in. So I think it's important to do that. But anything you want to say on that?
Yeah, have you been to the county and asking for money in the past?
Yes, on both. Prior to us asking, our understanding was the county had not made any changes to the nonprofits or economic development organizations put in their budget for 10 plus years. They added us last year, so we became the first one to come in a long time. Our understanding is we're in for this year as well on the incubator side. So we have broached the subject of best and brightest, and I think now the groundwork is in place for us to be able to explain and show how the benefits of this program, particularly the home purchases that these people make, benefit not just the city but the county as well.
Then last question from me, I think. Have you had success in your partnership with Decatur Morgan Hospital recruiting nurses and Decatur City Schools recruiting teachers?
Yes, different rates. So Decatur City Schools, they're in a knife fight to get great teachers. Everyone is, because more teachers have been retiring, fewer are graduating, the need's greater. So what we've been used by DCS for is to basically get the people they really want to get and give them a competitive advantage. So we help them secure 6 of their top draft picks, if you will, who they wanted. And we have also been able to open the doors to other schools for them as well. So we could do more. We actually have 12 total teachers in the program. Again, we have teachers who come in as members. They're married to another teacher. So now we get 2 for 1. So I would say that has been very encouraging. We could do a lot more with DCS, and we want to. The hospital is continuing to work very hard to generate those nursing candidates who are thinking about Decatur Morgan and others, as their potential place of employment. We were able to bring a healthcare employee who's a radiologist tech. We do have some nurses in the pipeline. We have a nurse who has moved here, but we're still waiting for more of those nurses from them that we can let in and hopefully make the difference for them to secure once they've recruited a nurse.
So a part of your program when it comes to recruiting teachers and nurses and whatnot, is it included in the agreement that they have to work at one of the contracted facilities, like you have a contract with DCS or you have a partnership with DCS? So like if a teacher comes in, they have to work at a DCS school?
Yes, like what we're telling them is the schools and the hospitals are specific partnerships for those institutions. So you can apply as a teacher or as a nurse who works anywhere. But in the case of these spots, we say these slots are reserved for someone who is committing to work at DCS or DMH. So they know that on the front end.
So John, your program, keeping up with you from the time that you first started is, I think even your predecessor had almost a concierge type of service and taking care of those best and brightest, the 56 that you mentioned, very nurturing and such. You give a lot of time to doing that, don't you?
Well,
you don't like to brag about it, but you do.
Our team works very hard. Lori has gone to a house on Saturday and helped someone with some cat food when they had forgotten to fill the bowl with cat food. Sydney goes to colleges to be there in person and help recruit with the schools. So our whole team really cares, and I will say that, yes, they're fortunate. These people have jobs and they have homes. Those are not things to take for granted, but we also have a young generation bearing over $1 trillion of student loan debt by some estimates.
You try to help them get acclimated to the area.
That's right. And when they do, they like what they see.
That's where I'm leading up to.
Yes.
It helps them get connected.
That's right. That's exactly right.
We have, seeing, going and actually, and I don't know what other council members that went and speak, but I went and spoke to the group, but actually getting to go and speak to that group of people, at least the 36, I don't know about the new member, I haven't spoke to the new members, but last year, I came and spoke to the entire group and to the staff, and it was a very interesting group. I learned quite a bit from the individuals that were there, where they came from, where they're from, what their living situation was when they grew up, and where they came from and where they are now. So there's a lot to learn from that group. It's a good group of people.
Well, look forward to having you again. We still have people in the new class moving in. We've revamped our selection process, the way that it works. There's a first level interview when we get an application, and then if they are green lighted, we have a second person totally different who interviews people, and then if they both are in consensus, we let them in. So we've also built some safeguards in, and if no one can agree, then I get involved, and then we just have to make a decision.
Also, you brought in recently 2 doctors.
Yes, 2 physical therapists from council. Yeah,
3 physical therapists.
2 from California, 3 total.
Awesome.
So
That's
also,
awesome.
again, supporting the local healthcare needs for the entire community, just like our teachers are.
Any other questions? Thanks,
Thank you
John.
for coming.
All right, thank you all.
All right, we'll move into public comment, and Suzanne, you were first. I'll let you come first.
Good afternoon. My name is Suzanne Johnson, and I live at 2410 Stratford Road, Southeast Decatur. And I am here to talk about the absolute lack of enforcement across the board of ordinances in the city of Decatur. We have I'll bet you the ordinances is so tall here, we could stand on top of each other's shoulders and not hit the whole thing. There's just a whole bunch of ordinances that are already in existence that nobody pays any attention to. From running Airbnbs, not just you, but real estate agents. I know lots of real estate agents in the city of Decatur that have an Airbnb. We got an ordinance against it. What are we doing about it? I owned a rental property and I sold it several years ago, a couple years ago. My tenant had a son who was 18 that was going to school at Austin and Decatur High School, and he was learning how in the auto shop to rebuild a car. So they bought a car and he was rebuilding it. As the owner of that property, guess what? I got a letter from code enforcement. On my street right now today, there is a home that, unfortunately for them, they got struck by a tree last week. But prior to that being struck by the tree, really making the place a mess, he had a bucket truck, a front loader, a Polaris, 2 BMWs, and a boat in his front yard. Not a word has ever been said about the mess. Not a word has, and no shortage of cement mixers because he's pouring his driveway apparently 1 square at a time. Across the street from him is a house that the person who lived in that house died of COVID, one of our first deaths in Decatur from COVID in May of 2020. I remember this very well because at the time Christy Hill was sitting in your seat, Mr. Pike, and people were complaining about the people having a dog barking in the yard for days. And I said on Facebook, wow, did y'all know that there's an elderly woman that lives in that house alone? and you walk past it every day and you see a dog in the backyard barking and nobody is bothered to be a good neighbor and knock on the door to see if she's okay. Christy took that and did a welfare check on the lady and they found her body. That house is in such a state of disrepair. Trees and shrubs are growing up into the roof and to the gutters, and it's literally become a falling down dump. It's in the country club community of Decatur Country Club. That is its designated neighborhood. Decatur Country Club. Not a word, not a red sign, nothing. Several years ago, around the corner from me, we had another house whose carport was literally a junk pile of clothing and trash hidden behind a non-operable vehicle. It took me and our then Representative Page and several other neighbors months to get that mess cleaned up. It takes an act of Congress. We have these on the books. I'm going to ask that you take a moratorium against the $300 abatements that you are giving out and you're voting on tonight until the city of Decatur can get their own stuff together and start getting their own properties mowed. If you can't take care of your own, you have no right to ask us to take care of ours, and you certainly have no right to come and fine us. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to point this directly at you. You are the leader of this city. It is your job. You are the guy where the buck stops.
Suzanne, we hit 3 minutes, just
Okay.
about a minute.
I'm just going to ask you to please do your job and make your department heads do their jobs so that their department people can go out and do their jobs. And so our ordinances can be enforced. There is never a case where an apartment, and I'm sorry, but it's BS that you don't know the owners. I work for a property management. I know where to send the checks.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Hey, hold on a second. Hang on a second.
We have a response.
Yeah, no, Mr. Lee, can you come up here a second? I'm sorry. Don't mean to call you out in front of everybody, but come up for a minute. Since I'm sure there's going to be some other questions tonight regarding code enforcement with the recent situations going on also in my district, can you explain the process one time and one time only, a real good time, of how the process in behind, citing someone or not just citing someone, but sticking one of the things in their yard and explaining the process of that and how it works and how long it takes and how much of a lengthy process it is?
Well, we have numerous processes and they're all different. And most of them have different time limits that go along with them. You know, there's kind of a misnomer around town that people think that if you get a violation notice, there's a red sign in your yard. And that's not the case. That's only for weed abatements, in which in Decatur we have our own state law that only applies to the city of Decatur, which we use for weed abatements. There are various determining factors. You may have an overgrown yard. We may process it under the city code rather than as a weed abatement. One takes a couple of weeks, or actually both of those do. Then one results in us having a contractor mow something, if it's something that they can mow with a weed eater or a lawnmower. If not, then we tend to have to go a different route where criminal prosecution is used. Now, you get into issues with the police being able to find people, serve them court summons. And I'm getting kind of long-winded here, but one of these properties that was discussed a minute ago, the owner's deceased. The estate has been filed for probate, but we expended a lot of hours, days, in fact, hunting people, talked to neighbors. The neighbors, I used to work with a guy that lives behind this. None of the neighbors knew anything about the whereabouts of these property owners. But until this case has been resolved in probate court, we don't have a responsible party. The property owner's deceased. They're the ones that's still in their trust. We've done what we can through weed abatements, but this is every day for us. This is not something that we do occasionally. This starts every morning, and it's still going on when we go home at night. It's just, there is a sheer volume. We had another similar case over there in that neighborhood that had some very interesting legal issues attached to it as well. But we're very familiar with these cases.
David, are you seeing some, I guess, been kind of carrying all of it on the back of community development when it comes to properties and things of that nature? Now we have a beautification department. You seeing a little relief there?
We're getting a little bit of relief as far as complaints on trash and stuff like that in various places. We've seen an improvement lately in several of those little areas that are problematic around town where things are being dumped and thrown out.
Hey, David, you addressed one of the properties that Suzanne brought up. The other one you and I have talked about before on Stratford, and I think there's been multiple visits, so somebody has been there.
There have been 3 on Stratford that we've dealt with. Now, the guy with the cement mixer and the other stuff, there's just not a lot we can do. The people aren't restricted as to where they can park. I don't think the times that we've been by, what we've been able to see have not been inoperable or met that definition in the ordinance. It's just the guys taking his time, doing his thing, and it's not anything that we can really do about that.
So just to add something to that, this is a little bit different from that. I know that Ms. Johnson, you had mentioned that the city has got a problem with mowing its own grass. Recently, in a previous council meeting, that was brought up by Mr. Pike, and then I've also brought it up and even sent out emails to the department director of Parks and Rec, which is Mr. Lake, and the mayor and a couple other people. And there's an ongoing issue with the company that we have doing it right now. I don't know what is actively being done to address that issue. Mr. Lake might be able to. Mr. Lake.
And I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying that before you go charging people $300 to mow their grass, you need to mow your own.
Well, and I understand. Hold on. I understand where you're coming from.
It's a council discussion.
I understand that. I understand that. I understand where you're coming from on that completely. You know, you ask others to do, but you know, do as you say, but not as you do. That's the phrase I'm looking for there. And I understand where you're coming from on that. But the problem with that is we have a contractor that we paid all sorts of money to be able to do this job, and they're completing it in some areas, but in some areas they're not. Unfortunately, I don't drive every street of the city of Decatur every day of the week, and neither do they, and I'm assuming neither do the rest of you. So we don't see every bit of it every single day. And I don't know what the issue is with that company, and it's like you said, you know, of course we're going and finding other individuals. Well, we can't just stop letting people cut their grass because we're not cutting ours. I understand that we're having an enforcement issue with that as well, but we've got to keep it as good as maintained as we possibly can until the issue is addressed. So my next question is, Mr. Lake, what are we doing to address the issue with the company that's at hand?
Do you want to address, I know you brought that up at the end, maybe something at the end of the meeting to address and update us on. All right, we're going to move on.
This is a
Ms.
perfect time.
Andrea Hoffmeyer-Wilson is next on the list.
Thank you, Jacob.
You're welcome.
If we
I'm
could
sorry you had to wait so long.
It's okay. I'm brawny. If we could start the timer once I get I've got my cane down, once I get my papers, that would be fabulous. Because I'm not doing so great, so I need all my 3 minutes. Andrea Hoffmeyer-Wilson, 1306 Caradell Street. I stand before you as citizens censured from over a year ago at a supposedly public meeting to my recent Facebook post about broken window theory and crime being reported and taken down. Another version is now on LinkedIn. I will not be silenced. I have stood before you, and I am not merely a keyboard warrior. But I am physically not capable of staying this evening for comments on over 400 grand for tennis and pickleball potties later on the already jaw-dropping price tag, or the insanity that existing codes are not enforced as needed with the same ease and impunity as the long weed abatement list to combat antecedents to crime, or a spineless tree ordinance that does nothing to curb destructive developers clear-cutting. We start every meeting with, notably, a Christian prayer. Is there no room in this room for other faiths? Now, I pray that ordinances, appropriations, and attitudes get aligned with what our community really needs for our quality of life. Serving as a concierge for a few dozen best and brightest, got $500,000 last year. Not sure what the ask is this time. As one of your,
Are you pointing
as
at
one
me?
of your,
Are you pointing at me?
yes I am, yes I am.
I can't tell.
As one of yours
I just
scorned
told
and
you.
scattered, as one of yours scorned and scattered, I read to you from the letter of James. I'm glad it's funny.
I can't tell if you're pointing at me
My
or Mr.
brothers,
Connors.
do not let class distinction enter into your faith in Jesus Christ. Now suppose a man comes into your synagogue well-dressed and with a gold ring on, and at the same time a poor man comes in shabby clothes, and you take notice of the well-dressed man and say, "Come this way to the best and brightest," I added that, seats. Then you tell the poor man, "Stand over there, or you can sit on the floor at my footrest." And making this distinction among yourselves, have you not used a corrupt standard? Listen, my dear brothers, it was those who were poor according to the world that God chose to be rich in faith and to be the heirs to the kingdom which he promised to those who love him. You, on the other hand, have dishonored the poor. The right thing to do is to keep the supreme law of Scripture. You will love your neighbor as yourself. But as soon as you start making class distinctions, you are committing sin and under condemnation for breaking the law. If one of the brothers or one of the sisters is in need of clothes and has not enough food to live on, and one of you says to them, "I wish you well. Keep yourself warm and eat plenty," without giving them the bare necessities of life, then what good is that?
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. All right, that is everybody we had signed up for public comment. We'll move into our approval of minutes. We'll take A, B, and C together and D separately. Start with A, B, and C.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Wagner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
The approval of those A, B, and C is 5-0, and D is next.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Wagner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Same.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
D is approved 4-0 with one abstention. Next, we have public hearings. Ordinance 234565, approve rezoning for a tract of land containing 1.41 acres, more or less, from M1 Light Industry District to B5 Central Business District, located at 211 First Avenue Southeast. Public hearing was set August 7th, 2023. Chris.
Good evening. Chris Stone, Planning Department. That is the request to rezone the city and county-owned farmers market. It allows it, it eliminates some non-conformity issues in regards to parking.
All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here, we'll open the public hearing now. If there's anyone here to speak on this item, you can speak now. All right, seeing no one here to speak, we'll consider the public hearing closed.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call. Aye.
McMaster's.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Ordinance 234565 approved 5-0. Resolution 23236 approved request for Class 1 lounge liquor, beer, and wine on premise license by Chow's Seafood Decatur Incorporated, doing business as Red Pier Seafood and Steak at 1208 Beltline Road, Southwest Decatur, Alabama 35601.
This is a change in ownership, and they've satisfied everything.
All right, we'll open the public, this is a public hearing, we'll open the public hearing now. If there's anyone here to speak on this item, you can speak now. All right, seeing no one here to speak, we'll consider the public hearing closed.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23236 approved 5-0. Resolution 23237 approved request for special event liquor license for the Hennessy Wedding Reception from Burning Tree Country Club at 2900 C Point Mallard Circle, Decatur, Alabama 35601 on September 16th, 2023.
They've satisfied all requirements.
All right, this is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing now. If anyone's here to speak, you can speak now. Seeing no one here to speak, we'll consider the public hearing closed.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23237 is approved 5-0. Next is Resolution 23250, approved Las Vegas final business license suspension or revocation.
And we're in the same place on that. They did come in and pay the final fees that are owed on that. But I believe we have a resolution for revocation.
Yeah,
for
so-
6 months.
Yeah, and Herman, you can speak to this, and just to clarify, if we were to vote on the one that's on the agenda, a yes vote would mean they were permanently revoked, and a no.
They would be revoked until they come back and apply, and y'all.
Right, they'd have to go back through an application
Right.
process.
Yes, that's correct.
But you have a potential.
I'd set up a substitute which would allow them to continue to operate, but would keep the conditional suspension or revocation in place. That, what that means is that if they fail to meet our law, the state law, then they would come back before you and you would decide. They have not exhibited a history of staying in compliance. In fact, it's been the opposite. We're pleased that they've made this effort to be in compliance. We believe a conditional suspension or revocation would encourage them to stay in compliance. And that's what it would do is 6 months, just add 6 months as conditional revocation or suspension, but they would continue to operate just like they are now.
So we need to make a motion to amend.
Yeah, somebody would.
I'll make a motion.
To substitute this
For the continued.
For the conditional, yeah, I'll
suspension.
make a motion for the conditional substitution.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to amend the current resolution to a conditional 6-month suspension or revocation. Is there a second? And there was a second by Mr. Pike on that. So Herman, do we need to vote on the amendment and then vote again? Vote
Yes.
to replace it?
Yes.
Okay. I actually will vote not to amend it because I think they've satisfied what we asked them to, and so I would vote to reinstate. But on that, I'm going to vote no on the amendment. But any other discussion just to amend what's currently on the agenda? All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Ladner.
No.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
All right, the amended replacement passes 4-1, and so now that would also be a public hearing, Herman.
This is all public
Yeah,
hearing.
so we'll open the public hearing now for the replacement resolution, if there's anyone here to speak on that item. Again, this puts a 6-month conditional suspension or revocation.
But to clarify, that doesn't mean we wait 6 months to see if they're gonna stay in compliance.
That's
It
right.
means that after 6 months, we believe that.
They need to be in compliance for 6 months,
Right,
and then we
We think
revisit.
that becomes habit forming, and I think that works.
Okay. Public hearing, anyone here to speak on this item can speak now. All right, seeing no one here to speak, we'll consider the public hearing closed.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McMasters,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner,
Aye.
McMasters,
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
All right, the replacement resolution, and it is 23-250, was approved 5-0. All right, moving to weed abatements. David, there were no changes on those, is that correct?
No, sir,
Nothing of
no
note.
changes.
This work has been completed, and now we're asking the homeowner to,
And I would like to, I know the council's familiar with this, but since there has been so much public comment tonight, I would like to refresh everyone's memory that, we do this because the property owners don't. It's not, it's an expense up front, but in the long run, we recover all of these, plus an administrative fee that we make a little bit on after paying recording costs and publication costs and stuff. So although we're spending the money now, it all comes back plus some.
all right, and we're gonna take these one at a time.
So moved.
Resolution
Oh, sorry.
23-238, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion?
I'll just simply say that, same thing I always say is that for years now, we have dealt with this. I appreciate the things that you guys do from community development perspective, but I do think that it's hypocritical for us to, and I understand it's after the fact, I understand all of that. At one point, when we were actually mowing our grass and taking care of our right-of-ways, I supported these. At this particular point, as I've said for years now, I think it's hypocritical for us to cite anyone, or not cite anyone, but to charge anyone for this when we're not doing what we need to do as a city. So I will oppose these. And I do think too that they need to be taken individually because each one of these impact each family differently. So I think that that's why we need to do it individually.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call?
Ladner,
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-238 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-239.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-239 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-240.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-240 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-241.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-241 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-242.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper.
Second.
Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-242 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-243.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-243 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-244, assessed $293.50.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-244 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-245.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper.
Second.
Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-245 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-246.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-246 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-247.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-247 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-248.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-248 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-249, approved request for revocation of business license for TO1 Mexican Grill, 1318 6th Avenue, Southeast Decatur, Alabama, 35601.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper. Motion.
I mean, I'll second
All right,
it.
motion, second by Mr. McMasters. Lori?
Okay, they've made no contact. We've reached out continuously. I called again today twice, still no contact.
When is the last time a payment was made?
September 2022.
Okay, so we're a year.
There's actually a representative here. I'm just wondering if she has anything, any explanation or.
Yeah, if you would like to come speak, just come to the
Actually, good afternoon. My name is Mirna Sendejas. I'm here from the whole Tijuana family. And we've had a lot of miscommunication from the bookkeeper. We originally had our main one, and then whenever they swapped us out, the other girl that used to work with us, with the bookkeeping, she did not make my payments through. Some were electronically, some I had to come over here to the police department and pay for them. And right now I have paid the late fees, which were over $11,000. And I have a proof of that. I'm also working with her with our original one, working on all the behind payments from way last year and then early this year as well. And we've been struck by COVID. We've been short of staff. Our shifts are 12 hours or more. And we're just trying to make it through.
Herman, and I know there's probably other comments, but the purpose of the way this, in my mind, the way we structure this is a conditional revocation, which gives kind of notice in a way, for lack of a better term, that there's now going to be about a 30-day, this would be October.
Two council meetings.
Two more council
October the
meetings.
2nd.
So October the 2nd, council meeting, purpose of this would be in that time frame to
Yes,
work with the revenue department to try to get caught up.
Right.
Because these are taxes that people that go eat
Yeah.
there and buy there, they're paying that
Right. And
to
we-
the city of Decatur.
And we
I mean,
understand that. We
that's-
try to do our best. There was a lot of miscommunication from their office and us because I would think we were there. I would tell them where to put it, that way we would have funds for it. So sometimes it would be a day after or this or that, and we would get more fees added to our account.
So you said you've tried addressing the late fees?
Mhm.
Who have you addressed these late fees with?
Well, I actually have a picture.
Is
of
it a representative from the city of Decatur?
I called just to check what was the balance on the late fees, and they told me that it was 11,176 with 93 cents.
Lori, is this,
Yes, I think that's with the state of Alabama, not
Okay.
us, because we didn't receive any receipts,
Gotcha.
therefore we can't know what the fees would be.
Okay.
So I think the confusion is that is actually with the state of Alabama, not with the city of Decatur.
And
So
the,
there was.
I guess my concern is this, is that I spoke with you on Thursday,
Mhm.
and you told me that on Friday that you were gonna have a conversation with the city of Decatur.
Mhm.
And when I spoke with, I mean, it comes to light that there was no conversation on Friday.
Well,
Is
I
that
tried
accurate?
reaching out to my bookkeeper, and she was the one that was gonna be in charge of rounding up all the numbers and calling the Decatur City office, because I had already like reached out and I wasn't clear on the late fees, if it was for the city of Decatur or the state of Alabama. They told me that I was calling to the Decatur City office, which is why I thought I was paying those off.
Who's your bookkeeper?
Williams and Green in Huntsville.
Okay. I mean, this sounds like an unfortunate situation. I mean, clearly there's been some miscommunication. But what good?
I agree. I think that I'm gonna support the conditional, but I think in the meantime, our revenue office is through the very front doors when you come in the other side. If you go to the right, opposite
Yeah.
the police department, Lori's there.
Right.
She does a really good job for us, and she wants to help.
Yeah, I
Our goal is to
understand
keep people in business.
Yes,
We want
sir.
you to operate.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a 30-day conditional. I mean, throughout that 30 day, or I guess it's not necessarily 30 days. I mean, it's 2 council meetings from now.
Yeah.
So whenever you, I guess after tonight, I'm gonna support the conditional as well. But that gives you some time to be able to go into the office, speak with Ms. Lori or any other representative from the revenue department and address this issue. It's like Mr. Ladner was saying that when individuals come to that restaurant, they pay a sales tax on their bill, and that sales tax is owed to the city of Decatur, so it can be put back into the city, which is why individuals pay that sales tax.
Yeah.
That's why we charge them that.
Yeah, I understand that. I also understand that most people think that that's tip.
Lord, before you go, I would ask that, even though I'm sure that this has probably happened, I would ask that you give her your direct line
Yes.
or your number so that there is no confusion.
Yes.
So that we can get to the bottom of this, and hopefully, we can come out and they can get their taxes right, or we can start the process of them trying to get right.
Yes, sir.
Because I think our position has to be that we want to keep everybody open who possibly can be open, and we want you open. So I would just ask that you guys exchange numbers so that
Yes,
you
sir.
can communicate, and we just don't have this miscommunication situation anymore. So that's my request of you.
So, you said you're here representing the family, or
Yes.
you are part of the family?
I am part.
You are part of the family. So, are you one of the owners of the restaurant? Are you just managing it, running it, or?
I'm renting it. I'm the daughter of the owner.
Okay, all right. Well, kudos to you for coming up here and speaking to us and coming to address us. So I really appreciate that, especially for someone, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but
No.
it can be very different.
Yes.
So we appreciate you coming up here and trying to address the issue at hand.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you for coming. Thanks, Lori. All right, we do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson. Aye. Pepper.
Aye.
All right, resolution 23-249 is approved 5-0. Resolution 23-251, approved vacation, 54623 Stogie Holdings and Trinity Properties request to vacate a 15-foot wide alley, right-of-way, location of property is 609 Bank Street Northeast.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Herman or Chris, either one, want to discuss that?
Yes, this was recommended for approval by planning commission. This is a 15-foot by 50-foot strip of an alleyway. Both the adjacent property owners have agreed, so they would split the 15 feet down the middle.
And we would retain
We would-
utilities, telecommunications.
That's correct.
All right, any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 23-251 is approved 5-0. Resolution 23-252, accept 2023 pass grant for Old State Bank renovations.
Yes, this is a $482,357,000 grant to do renovations to the old bank. We still do not have our historic structures report back from the architect, but as soon as we get that back, we will start the process of as many renovations as we can get done for this amount of that we have on the grant.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Aye. Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-252 is approved 5-0. Resolution 23-253, accept 2023 port security grant.
Yes, this is a grant that we received from Homeland Security. It's a $524,572 grant with a $174,857 match, which is 25%, and is for a tactical support vessel that we have applied for the fire department. So we're just requesting y'all's approval to accept this grant.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-253 is approved 5-0. Resolution 23-254, award bid number 23025R to replace HVAC unit at Fire Station 4.
Good evening, Jeremy Sherrill with purchasing. This invitation for bids was issued on July 26th. Bids were open on August 9th. We received 3 bids and we recommend this be awarded to Southeastern Mechanical Services as the lowest responsible bidder.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion?
Chairman, this is just for the unit?
Installation, and includes a 12-year warranty. But yeah, this is the replacement of the unit and a 12-year parts and labor warranty.
Okay. Now, is there black mold associated with this in the ductwork?
So, included in this also is, removal of any mold that's in the ductwork. We got a quote from, Serpro, was that correct?
It's been a while, yes.
Yeah, Serpro gave us a quote to clean the ductwork on the unit.
But that's not part of this.
No, it's separate from what this bid is. It's below the threshold in and of itself. The total escapes me at this moment, but I know it's,
I would say it was like $2,000
Yeah.
something dollars.
but it's separate from this particular award.
So are we gonna have to come back and approve this again, or? is
No,
this-
because the mold situation is separate, lower than a bid threshold. Now, if we need to approve funding,
Okay. And I guess, you know, now, what has this gone on since March?
It's been a while.
March, and I don't know, is there a reason that it's taken us this long to get these guys out of this heat?
well, it's sometimes the bid process, this is a rebid, so we initially bid it, got back some numbers, looked at numbers, decided to rebid, which spaced everything out, and then getting it back onto agenda. So it's just the bid process that took this long.
Surely it's the mayor's had something to do. It not
Did,
did.
is that, I mean, they're not, what's the situation, I guess, at the station? I'm curious now, too.
I mean, I guess we can make a joke about this, but the fact is that, you know, these guys have been, and really, really, I mean, of course, they've got window units, don't get me wrong, but it's hot in there, and, it's been difficult for them.
All right, so when the unit went out, we had people come in and look at it. We got a repair group through Carrion who has a bid right now. They come back with some type of, just to be honest, ridiculous bid. It was $131,000 to replace a unit. So I don't think that's good use of city money when last year at Station 3 is exactly the same as what Station 4 is. We had it replaced for $15,000. So when we go to get the bid for this, it's $131,000. I don't think it was anywhere doable. So then we had to put a bid out to try to get something lower than that was reasonable for the fire station. So during that process of doing that, one of the companies come in and they didn't actually bid it the way we asked for it to be bid, but they said this is the way we need to go with the bid to fix the problem with the station. And one of the other companies agreed with them and said, hey, this is what we need to do. So it was different than what we bid. So then we had to put the bid process out again. And then they all bid on the same thing. So this is where we're at tonight with this bid to you. And like you said, it is, we took steps
to alleviate the problem of it being hot in that station, we went and bought some different units and fans and put in the station. And it worked pretty good through one of the hottest times of the year that we've been through. Was it ideal? No, but still we didn't want to give $131,000 for a unit at a station.
All right, thanks, Chief. Any other discussion? So this is just for the HVAC unit?
Right.
And the installation and
Right.
warranty?
And
So
they're
those
gonna- well,
stations.
this is not for that, but they're gonna get the ductwork.
They gotta get it cleaned,
So-
that's a separate.
Those stations had a, what they called a AION unit and a unit that cooled air. The AION unit moved air. We actually, when we got those we got those window units put in, we had them redo some duct work so that AION unit was moving air throughout the whole station, so it wasn't just in the rooms that had the window units in it. So we was trying to do something to alleviate everything in the station.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, any
Thank
other
you.
discussion? Roll call. Aye.
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 Resolution 23-254 is approved 5-0. Resolution 23-255, award bid number 23024 for demolition of TC Almond and Point Mallard Pavilion structures.
Yes, this invitation went out on July the 10th. We had a mandatory pre-bid meeting on site on July 27th. The bid opening was held August 17th, receiving 3 bids, and we are recommending this be awarded to Southern Recycling and Demolition Incorporated.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion?
My question again is, why are we demoing this? I mean, we've heard that it's got some HVAC issues. But it's a perfectly suitable building. Why are we demoing this?
Councilman, I guess I would have to ask suitable for what?
I'm sorry?
I guess I would have to ask suitable for what?
Recreation.
Well, we've had many conversations here about how many people use TC Almond and other centers. And as you know, besides Conley Duncan, a couple of the other classes that were long-time classes that we have worked with and found them other locations, there was not a lot of other opportunities there other than it being used. Right now, our gyms are being used for pickup basketball or pickleball. We're fixing to build a new recreation center. When we built Jimmy John's, and this gets lost sometimes because I totally understand where the question comes from, is if you look at Jack Allen was built with the opportunity to bring in people from out of town to also give our residents the best soccer complex we could possibly give them. Jimmy John's is, to me, the exact same thing. We changed the way we were doing tennis when we went from having tennis courts around town in different locations because we saw that the use of those tennis courts were not what they had been at one time. It didn't allow folks to, when they go to one place, it kind of creates a sense of community. It's not just going to play, it's going to be around friends, those kinds of things. So when you put all your courts more or less in one location, what that does is it opens up opportunities to do state tournaments and bigger tournaments to bring people into the city, which also gives our residents a better complex than what we've ever had in the past to be able to play at every day. So, when TC Almond was built, Jimmy John's wasn't there with it. Well, if you look at the success of Jimmy John's over the last several years compared to the way TC Almond's been trending, it just makes sense that we expand Jimmy John's and use the recreational indoor space that we'll have at the new recreation center.
So you proposed this to this council? Is that where it came from?
Yes.
Okay. Because I just really want to get a good fix on why it was proposed, who proposed it. I guess from finance perspective, how do we write it off? Because when we look at this is a very large fixed asset that we have for the city. So how do we write that off?
Generally, those are depreciated over several decades. We have to look and see what
Yeah.
the depreciation is like.
I know that it's depreciated, but this is not like a car or a piece of equipment where it depreciates like that because it's a building. It's, I'm sorry, say it again?
I asked the same question, and I think if I remember right, they were saying buildings were depreciated over 20 years.
Yeah, but, and the thing is that, you know, it's a very useful building, and the community can still use it. Not just the immediate community that it sits in, but the community the city as a whole can use it, and people do use it. Now, I don't know where your numbers come from, but I know that we still have a basketball community and tennis, or not tennis, but table tennis community and people who use that rec center. So to me, it just, and it's not like we're cramped for space to build tennis courts or to build pickleball courts. We can do that. So I just, it kind of, you know, it's baffling to me how we do that. It's an old building, but so is City Hall. So do we tear down City Hall to?
I sure hope not.
Well, I mean, again, that's kind of how I equate this to TC Alma.
One day it will be.
One day it will be. But at this particular point, TC Alman is still a useful facility. And we can still find other locations for pickleball and for tennis courts. So I just, you know, I don't know how we write that off. I don't know, you know, when we went to the bond market, that was included as a fixed asset, and I'm sure at millions of dollars. So effectively, that impacts our net worth. So I just...
oh, this will definitely increase our net worth. I mean, when you look at the new facility and what it can do for the city, I don't think there's not any doubt that you'll have more people come through this new facility than what's going through TC Alman right now.
It's not a matter of who's going to it. Structurally,
but that's how you increase your...
Structurally, we can't build that building. I mean, we're tearing down a building that we can't build for probably $20 million, $30 million now. So it's interesting that we're just going to tear down a building that's still got very good usefulness and can serve the community in so many different ways. We've got another item on this agenda that says that we're going to change the voting precinct. That's a public building that has been used for decades now for voting. And so if that usefulness...
Well, it was actually moved to TC Alman there when Jeff was director.
Okay. So how long has that been?
Well, he was director for 15 years.
Okay.
So
Right.
it was...
almost a decade.
I don't know how
Almost
long...
decades.
I don't know where it was before that.
More than a decade and a half, okay.
Eastwood?
So the fact is, 2009, I think, is when we moved it out of Eastwood. So the fact is that it still has great usefulness in our community, not just from an athletic venue or a recreation facility, even though it has great usefulness there. And again, I don't know how, like I said at the last meeting, I don't know how we come to the conclusion that one rec center can serve this entire city and be, and relate or assist us in our growth. Other communities aren't doing that. So anyway, I'm still just, I guess I'm baffled by the fact that we're gonna tear down a perfectly good building when we can do a tennis facility, and even in that area, but we're not short of space.
It's in 1969. 1969.
This one.
Yeah, it's fully depreciated, so there's not really anything. It's been fully expended.
So basically, you're saying that we could tear it down and we lose no value. Or we could rebuild that same.
I was just answering your question.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the depreciation aspect of it, but again, it's still got usefulness, it's still brick and mortar, it still has value, and still has value that we put on our, as far as our fixed assets go when we went to the bond market. So, you know, again, it still has great value for our community.
How many people use that rec center every week? Do you know?
I'd have to send you that. I don't know from the top of my head.
And
exactly how many people.
To me, it really doesn't matter how many people use it, it's availability of it. And, you know, so it's available for our citizens have an opportunity to go and use it if they choose to. But that's what makes community. That's quality of life when you have those things at your fingertip and you can use those things. It's like a swimming pool. or anything else that you have, and it's available. I mean, everybody might not use it, but it's available for us, and that creates quality.
And I do totally agree with you about the recreational space and it being a need. I can promise you that what we tried to do was look at the recreational spaces that we have. And because that was not in my intention at all. I never went into that going, hey, let's tear down TC Home. What we started looking at was, what are you gonna do there? Is it gonna be for, are you gonna do corporate stuff there? Are you gonna do family reunion kind of things there? And if you are gonna do those kind of things, and it's gonna be the main use of that building, really the gym area is the only area you can use, and it's just not big enough to have that many people in it.
But you know, we have the conversation, I mean, I've heard the conversation of the new facility and trying to reach out to YMCAs and people like that to come in and run the new facility. Of course, that rumor's out there. But if it ever happens, then where do the regular people go? Where do the people who don't have a membership go? That's my concern. And so it's just,
I'm not, here's the thing is, I'm not
sure
aware
you've
of
heard
the
that conversation.
I've heard it, and
Okay.
I've talked to them because they've been interested, but I'm not aware of the YMCA coming in.
Yeah, well, I'm sure at this particular point they're not, but I'm sure that the conversation is out there, which means the conversation can continue, so.
I would just say I support providing better recreation facilities for our residents than we currently are, and that would include TC Ullman. So when you look at other communities that you mentioned, they are building new things, and yes, they are tearing down old things, and that's what we need to. That's a 54-year-old building. I think it's time for something new, and I think that case can be made in a lot of different areas, and that's just my opinion.
But I could agree with you if we had on the table a plan to build a new rec center in that community.
But I mean, obviously, we disagree on that.
We don't. And so the thing about it is we're looking at one centralized location for a rec center. And again, there are questions out there, is it gonna be open for the public at all times? And that's a concern. But one center for a city that says that we need to grow, and that and some people even say we're growing, but you know, one center to accommodate one entire city is not the direction I think we need to move.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, we just disagree on that. Yeah. All right, any other discussion? Roll call?
Widener.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Aye. Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-255 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-256, approve the purchase of HVAC unit number 1 for DYS Aquadome location.
Yes, council. This is for the HVAC unit that's works part of DYS and actually works some of the lobby area at the Aquadome. It went out and we've gotten prices, and we actually went through a similar process of what Jeremy spoke of a minute ago, and we recommend this for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Sorry, roll call.
Widener.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-256 approved 5-0. Resolution 23-257 approved the purchase of artificial turf for the sports complex on Modus Road.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Jason?
This is for the sports turf that will be on the 8 ball fields, the 2 multi-purpose fields, along with the 4-field complex. It'll be anybody that has played at Jack Allen and seen the sports turf that we currently have at Jack Allen. It'll be very similar to that, except, you know, as things go on, they improve. So some of the things that we've heard from other communities is sports turf can be hot or may not play. We've went through those things. We're actually getting the same sports turf that they're getting, and a lot of the places do NCAA tournaments, different things like that. So we're very excited about that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Widener.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Aye. Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-257 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-258 approved the purchase of a modular bathroom building for the covered pickleball facility.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion?
Now, the tennis court is the one that's gonna replace the TC Almond facility, correct?
Yes, sir.
Second, next one.
But
Any other?
there's gonna be one of these restrooms at both.
I understand that, I was trying to separate them.
All right, yeah, this one's the pickleball. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Wagner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-258 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-259, approve the purchase of a modular bathroom for the covered tennis facility.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike, same exact thing,
Yes,
different
sir.
location.
Yeah, there'll be one, that will be behind the tennis center, and then there'll be one, there's actually a sidewalk that ends, where the current indoor, two-court indoor complex, there's a sidewalk that ends right there that has a natural place to put it, so it'll be easy to do that.
All right, any discussion? Roll call.
Wagner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-259 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-260, approved budget amendment for fees to submit Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods DOT grant application on behalf of the city of Decatur, Bill Sims Trail and Singing River Trail.
Thank you, council. So the Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods program, we came across this probably about a month ago, and I believed in it so much that I went to my board of directors and said, okay, we have this grant opportunity, it's possible, but we need $75,000 to pay Alta Design because they worked on the Singing River Trail, so some of the groundwork has already been laid for the Dr. Bill Sims Trail. So our board of directors approved for $25,000 to go towards the design fee, and then I went to Hospitality Association and asked them for $50,000 from the occupancy fund, and Don Duke Minier is here, and they graciously agreed. I want to say thank you to all of your department heads and Alan Stover for all of his hard work on this and his expertise. But I still believe in the project, and I still believe in Old Town and reconnecting them to Point Mallard. When you sit around a table with Dr. Bill Sims and Francis Tate, you just think, wow, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. These type of grants don't just pop up. This is a once-in-generation thing. We're talking about $10 to $15 million with no grant or no match according to the research that we've done. Now, this is a team effort, so we need everybody on board with this because we don't want to put a plan together and then everybody say, well, that's not what we agreed upon, because that is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is for us to enhance the Dr. Bill Sims Trail, enhance Old Town, and really reconnect it. Our goal is to make a civil rights district, and this will enhance that because we're connecting the Libby Sims property, Rhodes Ferry Park, all the way to the Old Town district. And I just think this is an incredible opportunity that we can't pass up. So thank you.
Ms. Gibson, while I agree with you, I think this is a wonderful project that's being offered in front of us. Mr. Stover's comments during the work session, I'm not doubting anybody's years of service or any experiences on the table here, but when Mr. Stover has come forth and said that there is some concerns,
Sure.
that raises red flags in my opinion.
Sure.
On the project alone. So, anybody else have any?
Just to clarify, this is a one-time grant opportunity, but I think it's spread over 5 years, part of the Biden administration infrastructure bill, and specifically everything Alan and Danielle talked about. The only thing, I'm going to support it if it gets to a vote, and I do not support tabling it, but I would ask, Alta will be administrating that process, that we include, obviously it's a city. The concern is we get $10 million or whatever the number is, and then 5 years down the road, as Alan mentioned, we get an audit and actually not what was in the bill that actually passed Congress, which doesn't say and, but the one that the workshop said, which does say and, I've seen it. That's what we're going to go with. So I think we need to clarify that some more, and I think as long as we're working with our team and community development, specifically with Alan and Alan, that just I want to make sure that communication is there, so that if
Sure.
there are any concerns that he comes across, we can be aware. But I'll support moving forward with this. I do think it's a really good opportunity. And based on Alta's experience, we did get information back directly from the Department of Transportation that they felt like the "and" was not correct, even though it did say it. I will support it, so.
So is this just the fees, or is this a grant
This is
application?
actually approving, and Dawn, tell me if I'm wrong, but this is actually approving what hospitality had, their board had approved, which is the $50,000 towards the $75,000 fee.
This is not approving the grant application.
So the application will come back to
The
us.
application, okay.
Oh, yes.
Because it's a City of
Yes.
Decatur application.
Okay,
Right.
And
so.
25,000 is coming from CVB.
Yes, correct.
And the remainder from
Okay.
But
our.
it's the fees to do the application.
That's
Right,
right.
well, I
Right.
guess that makes me feel a lot better, realizing that it's the fees, because I'm okay with the fees right now.
So
Yeah.
worried
I
about
would
$2
not.
million in 5 years.
I'm worried about $10 million in 5 years, and I would not approve this grant tonight without seeing an application to know what we're on the hook for.
Sure.
So I think this gives us some time to look into, to make sure whether or not the bill's accurate or the "and" is accurate, because I have real concerns about somebody coming back 20 years down the road and auditing this and going, oh, well, you didn't form enough unions, so poof, here, you owe us $10 million.
Yeah.
Mr. Stover, would you say that this is enough time between now and the next, would you say it's enough time?
There's a deadline for the application
There is a
regardless. They've
deadline
got
for
to
the
meet that.
application. It may put some pressure on Alta to get that back in order for the council to approve it by next council meeting.
And I also think it was
can-
stated,
No,
We can make sure
that
that-
wasn't my question, that wasn't my question. My question was, is this enough time for you to be able to look at it and say if this is a good idea or not?
As long as I get the application and we can look at it. I'm not, as I've said in the work session, Danielle's been great to work with, but I still have those concerns, and that position's not gonna change until we see that application, and I don't even know at that point, I mean, that will make me feel better, but, at the same time, you know, when you think about those agreements, and I have asked Alta to, and if they've done these in the past, they should be able to provide us with some examples of if we have to get those agreements.
So you have asked
Yes.
and haven't gotten it yet?
No.
So yeah, so
now
that's
hold
one
on,
thing,
though.
I just,
Alta has been working on this in good faith, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
obviously,
That's absolutely.
they're gonna want, before they start turning stuff over, you know, they're gonna wanna see this approved.
I mean, like I said, I still, as long as you believe there's enough time for you to be able to look into it and make sure that it's a good thing for the city to do. As everybody else has said, I don't want us coming back in 10 years from now and getting audited and having to pay back every dollar of that money. That would be, that wouldn't be a good financial move for the city of Decatur, in my opinion. But
And Alan, maybe, I know we reached out to Congressman Strong's office, and they did respond that they talked with the DOT, but maybe we need to have some more direct conversation and explain the bill that Congress passed says this, what you have gone through in a workshop says this, help us clarify. And that way, maybe we have some documentation in an email that says A was correct, right? At least in my mind would make me feel better, so.
We will do that. I mean, again, it's the council's decision, whatever y'all's decision, I will do the best I can to make that happen. I do think that, again, that will give us an opportunity, as long as I said in the pre-work session, we just need to see what that application is, what we are committing to, and what, yeah. I mean, because those things that we talked about are gonna have to be addressed in the application.
Okay.
And,
we are gonna have time to do that, even if we approve this tonight, we will have time
yes.
to go back and look,
I mean,
because it's gonna have to come back to
and
us.
To Councilman Pikes, they have been working on this, you know, in good faith. I warned them against that too, though. I said, you know, you're doing this without having approval, but they've been doing it in good faith. Sarah has been wonderful to work with, you know, I don't doubt that that's not going to continue.
I ended up saying that we would, you know, I think the council would support this, but it was before you ended up sharing last week, at the end of the week, some of the concerns that you had, and then that's whenever things begin to change direction. So Danielle, I'm certainly not being two-faced in the way that we went about this, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, I don't have a motion. We have
So
a
moved.
motion by Mr. Pike,
Second.
second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion?
Just to add one more thing, Danielle, I just wanted to say again, we do appreciate all the work that you've done with Mr. Stover. We appreciate you, Mr. Stover, of course, and then everybody else that's played a hand in this project.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Tyner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-260 is approved 5-0. Resolution 23-261, approve FY24 job classification pay plan changes.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? I think we've had a lot of discussion. This is for pay plan change for the fire department. Was amended from what we discussed in the special meeting a few weeks ago. And it was approved by the personnel board.
Does this include the COLA, or is that?
COLA would be part of the budget.
Okay.
So that's a no, that's what you're saying.
I don't believe that 3% is included in this, is it?
I didn't think
My
so.
knowledge it is.
Okay, then it is. Did they
I mean,
approve
that-
that?
Mayor, could you answer that?
So let me hang. So be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Decatur, Alabama, on the recommendation of the Personnel Board that the following are the FY 2024 personnel cost. That's a 3% COLA adjustment to the city's job classification and pay plan. Then it goes through some other increases. Then separate from that is the market adjustment for fire.
See, I came into this meeting thinking that the 3% was in there, and then when they said,
It is.
okay.
It's
Okay, all right.
I just confirmed
Yeah,
that.
you
still
just
would-
confirmed that, but, so in my mind, I mean, again, I think they're two separate things. I think that the fire, adjustment for the fire department and the 3% are two separate things.
Well, they're all in one pay plan. They're all on a
understand that.
schedule. That's how you do it.
I understand that, but my position is that for future pay scales and well, for future pay increases, I think that I'm at the same position that I was last year and year before that I would rather see us, and again, I think that our employees deserve a 5% or 6%. I don't know if that's feasible at this particular point, because I've been here, as I've said before, and you guys have heard me say, I've been here when we had to lay people off. You have too, Herman. So the fact is that.
Well, we
Yeah.
reorganized,
Yeah, oh, well,
which meant,
you call it what you want to.
well, that's.
But anyway, I mean, but people were no longer employed with the city. And
That's
so the thing is that that's a tough time for us. I would rather see us give a one-time, and I understand it does not go towards retirement, which is important, especially with a council like this. Retirement's important. But I do think that we should give a $1,500 or whatever, a set amount to our employees versus the 3%, but I do think too that the fire increase is a separate issue for me. So I support the fire department increase to bring them up to a certain level, but if this is all one package, I can't support it.
And then also, all of this would have to be approved in the budget. It has to be funded.
This is true, but this is the first step.
No, I understand. But to actually be implemented, it has to be approved in the budget. All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Widener.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-261 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-262, approve SRO updated agreement with Decatur City Schools.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion?
Well, it's what we've had for years. There's some adjustments. We're now able to use retired officers under a new state law, but it's all the same basic format. Is that right back there? Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Widener.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-262 is approved 5-0. Resolution 23-263, amendment of urban renewal covenants R74 for public building use on parcel 6-3.
Yeah, of course, we talked about it at the work session and other. Basically, the Alabama Community College system, including Athens State and Decatur City Schools, this would be up a lot that's adjacent to the brick. The covenants that were put on there back in the 70s was an urban renewal project. The Housing Authority was responsible to manage it, and they did that. And in the 80s, they quit claimed all their property that was left to the city. So now it's the city that administers it. And then we will ask the Planning Commission to approve this change. What it does is it changes the allowed uses from a parking lot to use for dance and music or other governmental type buildings. That gave us some flexibility in case we need it. Back then, there was a shortage of parking, so it was natural to have a parking lot. Now we have a parking deck across the street. So anyway, that's the purpose, to allow us to eventually, and you'll see that later on the agenda, to convey it to the Alabama Community College system.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pike.
Second.
Second by Mr. Pepper. Any discussion?
I fully understand Herman's explanation. I don't know that I'm still comfortable with it. I'm not willing to vote against it, but I will abstain on this one because I just don't know that I'm comfortable where we are with that, with the urban renewal aspect of it at this particular point.
All right. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Lardner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Same.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-263 is approved 4-0 with 1 abstention. Resolution 23-264, approved relocation of voting centers.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. McMasters. Stephanie?
Y'all voted to tear down Tennessee Home, so there you go.
Yeah, and then the other is the fire
It's
station.
fire
At,
station.
I think the concern, which I actually voted, that was the first place I ever voted, was that fire station. And I would, the parking is an issue. I think it actually probably prevents people from voting when they drive by. So I do think we do need to move it, especially with, there is some growth out there, houses being built, to try to move to a more accommodating parking / space area, but it's not.
I think that any opportunity that we get to keep our voting precincts in a public building is important to this community. I don't, it have to keep it away from a private location, a church, things of that nature, in a public building. It benefits our citizens and our community, so I will not support this tonight.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Just that it's important to note that, Stephanie, we exhausted every possible avenue in where Station 8 is and the people that it serves there, and the only reasonable solution was Burning Tree Country Club. Is that fair to say?
Judge Kane.
Other than Station 8 itself.
Other than stuff, well,
Yeah.
Judge Kane was involved in that,
yes,
these
Judge
discussions
Kane was
as well.
involved in the discussion with Burning Tree.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call.
Lardner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-264 is approved 4-1. Resolution 23-265, authorize mayor to apply for Children's Trust Fund Family Matters Program grant.
This is just our annual grant that we received from the Children's Trust Fund. We're just asking y'all's approval.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Lardner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-265 is approved 5-0. Resolution 23-266, approve the replacement of a compressor to repair the HVAC at the old State Bank.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Lardner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 23-266 approved 5-0. Resolution 23-267, approve expense for replacement of HVAC unit at Fire Department Training Center.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Chief?
Hey, this is one of the We have 17 units at the training center. This is one of the ones that services the police end. And we got bids and we went with SMS. Their bid was, I think, $6,000 something more, but they included a 2-year maintenance on it. Their warranty was a year longer on the labor and 2 years longer on the parts.
And we've got somebody in an office that's having a tough time, so. All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Adler.
Aye.
McMaster's.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Aye.
Taylor.
Aye.
Resolution 23-267 is approved 5-0.
Joe,
Yep.
hey, can I say something real quick?
We got, is it something?
Just
Go
real
ahead. Yeah,
simple.
you're good.
Hey, we had a lot of things on the agenda tonight, and I just want to say thank you for the council and the mayor, y'all support on everything we've done. Appreciate y'all working with us on the pay plan. Ms. Sandler's not here, but I know she put a lot of work into it, and the people in her office put a lot of work into it. And we have Lieutenant Adam Barnett, and I just want to say thank you for all the work that he put in on the grant for the boat along with Alan. I appreciate what y'all done for us tonight.
Thanks, Chief. All right, ordinances first reading. Ordinance 23-4567, approve revised urban forestry ordinance tree board.
The purpose of that was, we were asked to set up an ordinance whereby a citizen that didn't like the decision made by the city staff could appeal that to a board, whether it was to remove the tree or let the tree stay. And that's the purpose of this ordinance.
Yeah, I think there was some miscommunication with the resident that
was his
addressed
focus,
that
That was his purpose.
earlier.
Does that have teeth?
Well, I think,
Yes, it has penalties if you don't follow.
I think she has been asking for a tree ordinance had to do with new development,
Sure.
which is not what this is. This
No,
is
this
about
is
the
city
citizens
property.
we
This is
have.
what citizens came to after some of the
Yeah,
trees fell.
this is trees
One of
on
those
city
showed up
property.
earlier, and there's a lot of happy residents that this is being
Yeah.
considered, so.
Yeah, this is only for trees on city property.
Yeah.
All right, any questions on that? All right, ordinance 23-4568, approval of conveyance of parcel 6-3 to Alabama Community College System for construction of dance studio and training center.
Yeah, we've talked, that basically authorizes the conveyance of that to the community college system. And this is just introducing it.
All right, thanks, Herman. Any questions? All right, next council work session will be held on September 11th, 2023 at 5 p.m. And the next regular council meeting will be held on September 18th, 2023 at 10 a.m. Directors, anything else from you guys? Mayor?
Yes, about a year ago, we were able to find a grant for $1 million to conduct a bridge feasibility study. And with that, the council agreed to a $1 million match. And so that afforded our MPO the opportunity to manage this feasibility study. And so last week, we had a public meeting. We'd had one prior to that just had a blank map with no lines on it, but markers where people could come in and draw what they thought was the best route. Those lines were presented during this last meeting, but in addition to that, there were other routes that were outlined, other alignments. And Council Masters, excuse me, made a comment on his Facebook page that I think that we could all kind of the majority could stand behind. For the first time in a long time, if you ask me something about this, my answer will be, I don't know all the technical answers. What I can tell you is that no one from the city of Decatur picked these routes. We aren't qualified to do this, nor have we the ability to even begin formulating something of this magnitude, taking the many regulatory issues that are involved, Corps of Engineers, EPA, Fish, and Wildlife, Coast Guard, Transportation, etc. We paid for a study, that's it. That I can't answer for certain. And so with that, we look to our MPO leader, and Dwayne Hellam to go about selecting a team to lead that. And Dwayne, with your approval, selected TTL, and they partnered with Jacobs and Pewright McAnally. And I think they're to be applauded for the work that they did and the product that they brought forth. And this is the first, as you know, of many steps that will take many years for us to finally see a bridge, hopefully in our lifetime, that will take a new route across the Tennessee River. But I just wanted to acknowledge the work that Wayne, and of course Dwayne is supported by Chris Ensign. So anyway, there you go.
Thanks, Mayor. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, anything else from council?
I've got something. Hey, Jason, you said at the end, towards the end of the meeting, you'd address the mowing. What are we haven't addressed the situation with mowing yet. We're having too many issues with it, and I asked about it last week, and there's nothing that's been said about it. So we need to figure out what's going on with the mowing.
Well, I guess, to his question, we had some communication, I guess, last week at the end of the meeting about it. So I know we're under contract with someone, and so is the plan to try to work out maybe work that out. Anything you can provide. When I say work it out, we have some issues. Let's fix those and go from there. Is that correct?
That's what I think. That's what Jason's going to share. Yeah, we're working with the contractor to make it better. Back to the report is improve some. And here's Jason.
Can you give us some of the reasons?
Well, we have about 30 more days left in mowing season. And then we're going to go into a cool spell where our grass will start growing much slower. And with that, the existing current agreement.
We continue to evaluate it.
Yeah.
We're going to bring it back to the council.
I think it was important that in the conversation that we had, it was important that we communicate the issues we were having with the contractor. We did that. There is a contract. Jeremy can speak to that at a later date, but we'll abide by that contract and we'll make the decisions that we need to make based on the process that contract has involved with it. But those things were brought up to to the contractor. I think there has been some improvement, but it's ongoing, and just like we do with all contracts, we'll evaluate those every day and make decisions based off of it.
With it being evaluated every day, would it be pertinent for us to have something, maybe not wait the rest of the 60 days until this contract is up, to have another bid out there in case something does come up? I mean, the only thing I can find worse than a bad contractor is severing ties with a bad contractor and having nobody to replace.
Well, not only that, and also we're paying a bad contractor to perform a poorly performed job. And we're not getting our money's worth, in my personal opinion, out of that. We've had numerous complaints from citizens in the community throughout social media, and this has been ongoing for a while now, and I hate that we're having to wait towards the end of the mowing season to address the issue. I mean, this issue should have been addressed a long time ago, and should have been caught a long time ago. But
we have been, this has been an ongoing discussion, not for here lately, it's public lately, but we've been having this discussion all summer, even before the summer. So we've been evaluating, having conversations. The conversation we had recently was not the first conversation. I'm sure it won't be the last conversation. So we'll work with them every day to get the best job done we can get with this contractor. It's a short amount of time before some decisions can be made, and that will give us some options that we don't currently have.
It is possible that some citizen complaints have nothing to do with that particular contractor or that one. There's multiple that do different sections of the city, so.
Well, there's some, you know, you're right. There are some places that citizens say, well, this is supposed to be mowed, and when you check it, that's the reason it's very important that you have somebody that's on top of these situations, and we're lucky enough to have DA or Darren Allen, who's a retired guy for us, does a great job in a lot of stuff, and Jonathan Gruber that communicates with them on a daily basis, has communicated the issues that we've had. I can tell you that the concerns that you have been brought up in these conversations.
Okay.
Are they addressing them? Bringing up the concerns in a conversation is not doing anything if they're not addressing it. It's a pointless conversation if they're not addressing the issue.
Well, if they were addressing all of those, we would not still be having this conversation. But I do feel like the last couple conversations probably were a little more advantageous for us. But like I say, we'll have some options coming up in a very short period of time that we don't currently have.
Can you explain what those options are?
Thanks, Jason.
That would come from purchasing.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Any other discussion from council? All right, we'll stand adjourned. Thanks.
We didn't even have a rezoning on that one.